Whenever you're doing body work on a car, you always wonder, what is the best way to sand the clear coat after you're done so that it has a nice smooth finish with minimal orange peel? And how can I pick the best paper that prevents the most amount of gunking up of that paper and extends the longevity of that paper such that I don't have to buy 1,000 sheets just to do my car? What is better, silicone carbide or aluminum oxide? For the purposes of this demonstration, we're going to end up selecting a small panel on this E31 850i. This is a brand new repaint to Alaska Blue 367. And what I want to do is I want to demonstrate how to actually sand out your clear coat so that it is as smooth as a baby's bottom. Now you can see here, there's an example of the light as it's bouncing off. So I sanded some of the area down so you can see where those high spots are from the actual orange peel. And then if you keep on sanding, you see that it gets nice and smooth. When you buff this back up, it will be like glass, as opposed to this, which is more of like, if you can still buff this back up, it'll be a little less orange peel than it was before, but you still will notice the orange peel. So depending on what you want to do, you can either have all orange peel, some orange peel, or none. And even still, I mean, it'll be like glass, but I mean, you still can see some tiny little waves in that anyway. But what I want to assess today is, how do you clear coat sand your brand new clear coat, right? You can do wet sanding, you can do dry sanding, you can use a machine, you can use it by hand, you can use a pad. There's all different ways you can do it, and all of the ways work. But what I wanted to assess in this video was, what is the differences in the types of sandpaper that you can actually acquire, and which type of paper would give you the longest life for the least amount of cost in this particular application. So for the purposes of the experiment, I'm going to be evaluating two 6-inch pads of 1,000 grit each. The first one on the left is a 1,000 grit aluminum oxide pad from a company called Fujian, and basically it's a 6-inch pad, so it's a hook and loop, and it is aluminum oxide. And the second one is the silicone carbide by Paulwell Abrasives, basically rookieabrasives.com. Very similar, 6-inch, and that's the silicone carbide. We're going to be using a 5-inch hook and loop pad, which I know I don't have a 6-inch pad. We have a 5-inch pad with a Milwaukee DA sander on a very medium setting. So let's first evaluate the aluminum oxide and talk about its pluses and minuses. First, it's popular, right? It's very, very frequently used. It's durable, although it's not, it's actually more durable in general terms than silicone carbide. It's got a pretty good shelf life, and it's not really terribly expensive. It's bad on hard metals. So if you're going to be sanding metals, aluminum oxide is really not what you want to do. But in our case, who cares? Because all we're going to be doing is sanding a soft new clear coat. This also can be used wet or dry, which is really good too. But since we're going to be doing a dry orbital sand, we don't really care about wet or dry. We're just going to do dry. That's another limitation or constant in this experiment. In the other corner, we have silicone carbide. This is actually a sharper, harder surface than the aluminum oxide. It is not quite as durable. It is a bit more brittle in terms of the grain and the consistency. It's a very, very sharp grain, which is good because it cuts really effective at first, but it bogs down quickly. So let's see how each of these actually perform on the clear coat. Okay, so first I've got the silicone carbide. I want to put it right in the center. I have it on a even setting. It's actually going to be exactly the same setting for both discs. And I'm just going to start working on this, and depending on how it feels and how it's cutting, I'm going to see if I can try to do more. So let's get it started. Started to feel it not cutting anymore. And you can tell after wiping this down, it cut really good here where I first started. And then as I started going across, it really started to wear at it a little bit more exponentially. Taking a look at the pad, Evaluating the pad itself after just 30 seconds of sanding shows that there are a lot of these dimpled spots here. You can feel them. It's kind of like the clear coat kind of created these little spots, little raised areas that all can be scraped off with a fingernail, but there's tons of them, so it's probably not sustainable to keep on doing that, which means to me that this sandpaper already is done. It's basically, it has no more life left in it. You can see up at the top where I showed you that it definitely is ineffective when I got to the end of the sanding routine there. So I want to take a look at the aluminum oxide pad, and I want to do a separate section, probably right over there, and see how that performs in a different new spot that still hasn't been touched, and how it relates to the performance of the silicon carbide right here. Okay, so let's take the silicon carbide piece off and put the aluminum oxide piece on. Okay, as you can see, I got those overhanging edges, but that's okay. Taking a look at the sample space here, you can see I already did sand this down, so I'm not going to obviously not sand there, but here is a perfect candidate to see how it performs. So let's give it a shot. Wow, big difference in performance. That was all one smooth transition of sanding, and you can see, other than a couple of little spots here that I need to get back to, this is a much smoother. In fact, I had a little bit of a drip here, and I was able to sand through that as well. I thought it was over, and then I decided I wanted to go up to the top here, and you can even see up here, again, almost all, there's still some orange peel here that's left. Very nice. And so much dustier too. It basically makes it all dust. It doesn't get bogged down. I don't know, let's see what the actual, so if you take a closer look here, there we go. You'll see that there are a couple of spots here, but nowhere near as many as with the silicon carbide. And if you scrape it off, yeah, it just scrapes off pretty easily. Quick tip! When you're sanding with your DA sander and you get those little spots that you need to get rid of, where you want to clean your sandpaper to try to get longevity out of it and continue to try to sand more and more, well, you can. If you turn the DA sander on, let it spin really fast, use that same microfiber towel, lightly touch the edge, and you'll see that it cleans all that off, and you can continue to use it as you normally work. There you go. Yeah, I'm really happy about these pads. These seem to cut way better. You can see all the dust. I mean, this is excellent. It would probably take me about 3 or 4 of the silicon carbide pads to get to what it took for not even, I still am gonna use this, one pad for, the rear quarter panel. Again, taking a look at the comparison there, you can still see the orange peel there too. Silicon carbide just did not cut nearly as good as I thought it would. And the aluminum oxide, really, really good cut. I mean, that's really good. I'm very impressed. I could probably do the rest of this quarter panel with this piece, but I'm not going to. I have plenty left, so very, very cool. Nice. Quick tip, when you're doing some let's do this again. Quick tip, when you're doing sanding, you want to always check your work. You do it in little increments, and that's fine. Your hand works okay, but not really that good, and your hand gets all dirty. Microfiber towel, wipe it down with a microfiber towel, and you can see any of the additional orange peel that's left. So I think that the results actually speak for themselves here. The aluminum oxide here to my left is a real high performer. Very, very happy with how it cuts right through that clear coat. All the drips that I had on there, completely gone with the 5 coats of clear that I put on for that additional margin just in case. The silicone carbide just seemed to gum up a lot faster than the aluminum oxide. And by the way, per unit, this is actually a lot cheaper than silicone carbide. So rest assured, I won't be buying any more silicone carbide sanding discs anytime soon, and I'm gonna be sticking with the aluminum oxide. So I hope you learned something here about the difference in sandpapers, because it does make a difference what kind you get and how expensive it is. Sometimes more expensive does not always equal better. So if you are going to be doing some clear coat sanding on your car, aluminum oxide is the way to go. Thanks a lot, guys, for watching, and take it easy. My name is Frank Macaluso from Garageaholic. Later.